Welcome to Timebomb, the Kylie album Showdown podcast. We're here with me. I'm your host and moderator, Elliot, and I'm with my friends Garry and Alan. How are you two doing this evening?
Hello.
We got called.
Thank you.
I don't know. My brain went into autopilot, and I don't know what to say.
Hello from a rainy Manchester, chucking it down rain here, and Gary's in lovely Spain. Gary, tell us how lovely the weather is there.
It's really nice, yeah. I'm in sunny Spain. We're going to have 33 degrees this weekend in Spain, but I'm going to be in Birmingham at Kylie, so I won't be enjoying this.
Hey.
So
this could be your first gig then, the first show of the
Tension Tour. Yeah, very, very excited. I've got 5 rows from the front in Birmingham, and I am super excited.
Can I ask if you could telepathically zone into Kylie's brain in Birmingham? What song would you make her do in the interlude where she strums on the guitar?
How could I ever choose? So I would go back to any of the ones that she was doing for Impossible Princess in Australia. So she did It Again, really deep track like that. I'd love to see that. Like, imagine if she did Impossible Princess, but she won't do that. But
okay, so should we crack on with episode 3 then? We have some rules and we have the rules to reiterate, and then we have a new element that we're going to introduce tonight. So, yeah. Elliot, over to you.
Yes, the rules are as follows. We have a plethora of Kylie albums that have all been thrown against the Kylie Timebomb wheel, and you will get randomly assigned an album, and then you will be given time to praise it, big it up, tell me all about it, and then when we've come to the end of the discussion, one of them will continue forward and the other one will sadly be dropped in the Timebomb bin.
For eternity.
Forever.
Joining Disco and Golden in the Timebomb bin.
Exactly.
I am wearing a Golden t-shirt tonight for anyone who isn't wearing it on camera, in homage to the fact that we put another favourite album of mine in the bin.
Just to rub it into me a bit, I think. Let's be honest. Yeah. Let's not dress it up. Hey?
Well, Alan, do you remember last week when you were talking about Golden and we were talking about the random many versions that she released and that people like me bought? So I have a gift for you for tonight. And you can use one of 3 Golden cassettes that I have. Remember, I don't have a cassette player and these have never been opened.
I actually have a cassette player. Yeah, I have one, weirdly, yeah.
I'd say you can have one of 3. You can't have this one because it's signed and it's got glitter inside it. So actually, you can have one of 2. And these are... Look.
Have you even opened them?
That's never been opened. Collector edition in silver. This is collector edition in gold, which has actually been opened. I actually couldn't tell you what is inside. Ooh,
why did you buy them?
I don't know. Inside, there's... What is that? Like a sticker?
Show me.
I think... I don't really know what that is. I think you had to Shazam it or something.
Shazam.
I think you Shazammed an extra song or something. There was something. Well, do you want the silver or the gold, Alan?
The unopened one, actually. Going to give me a gift that's been opened? I'll have the unopened one.
You're giving me your Weinstein Fever DVD that you gave me last week. I want
never get around to posting it.
You can have this one because it's open.
Okay, all right, okay, fine. Anyway, shall we spin the wheel before I get myself in more trouble?
However, before we start the spin of the wheel, we have one extra newfangled thing to throw in, a spanner to throw in the work, shall we say. We have decided we're going to give you guys an opportunity, the ability, basically to steal an album from your competitor. Basically, when the album is assigned, you'll have that moment to basically take it from either one of yours.
But we only have one steal per season. We're going to have an opportunity to steal. So if an opportunity comes up and I want to take the album that Gary's chosen, or vice versa, then we can do it just one time.
We need to work out who's going first. So who is going to choose from the Kylie coin?
The Kylie coin now.
I'll go heads this week, I think. Got to give me some luck.
You're going to go with heads, Alan? Okay.
I'll go heads, yeah.
Get my... It's heads. So it's on.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
God, I really hate.
Let's
I'm
give this a
actually
spin.
feeling like I might throw up.
Okay.
It's Kylie 88.
Yeah, I'm happy. That will do. That'll do me.
Brilliant.
Okay, interesting. For the first time, Elliot, he's not had a complete meltdown about the
We got response. We didn't get pure silence and brain ticking away.
All right.
Fabulous. Right. Okay. Next spin. Okay.
Kylie goes up against.
Oh Lord.
Oh,
Oh Lord.
Oh.
Okay. Okay.
Kiss me
Wow.
once.
Okay. This could be interesting, because I think it'd be really interesting. I know you quite like KMO, and I actually think for her first album, she made a good album. This could be interesting, yeah.
It is if I don't use my steel.
Well, I mean, you can steal it if you want. I didn't think you would really want Kylie that much. Are you going to use your steel so early on? You wouldn't dare.
Just to piss you off. No,
that would piss me off, actually, yes.
I'm going to stay with Kiss Me Once. KMO for the win.
Okay,
Right then.
here we go. So I'm going first. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm talking about Kylie Minogue. Right, so a few stats first off. Released on the 4th of July in 88, smack bang in the middle of the summer. It was released in the UK and Australia and the US. Chart positions, UK number 1, her first UK number 1 album. Didn't fare so well in the US, number 53. Australia had it at number 2, and then she broke the top 30 in Japan. So UK sales so far, just shy of 2.5 million. Can you believe it?
Wow.
2.5 million copies. So let's talk about the record then. Right, I'm glad I listened to this the other night. I think the only way I can really talk about this album is to talk about it within the context of 1988.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, because for anyone who really likes the album and listens to the album, production-wise, it is, if anybody said, explain Stock Aitken and Waterman's production style to me, I'd give them this. Having said that, I mean, the production is dated, but there's a run of singles on there. Let's start with I Should Be So Lucky, shall we? So, say what you like about it. I mean, I kind of cringe when it comes on, and it is very much the epitome of a single from the sort of mid to late 80s. But it has a certain charm, and I mean, it's got a great chorus, right? It wasn't number 1 for 7 weeks for no reason, but it does have a slightly novelty feel, you have to admit, a little bit. I think that's kind of fair to say, that it felt kind of novelty at the time a little bit. But a great introduction to her.
Not her personality at the time, but she was coming out of a soap. Initially, she was a bit of a soap to singer. I'm not sure novelty is the word, but it was always going to be a little bit of that.
So let's talk about the other run of singles. Got to Be Certain. I mean, a great follow-up. I remember being really resolutely thinking, okay, this is quite good. I didn't expect really maybe her to have another hit. And then she came along, and I think it was number 1 for 3 weeks. Number 2 for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, because she has had, I think she had 7 number 2s or something.
At one point, the most number 2s of any other artist.
Yeah, she's had so many number 2s for a lot. But then it came, now I can't really talk about this one because you're going to tell me off, aren't you? But then came The Locomotion. And it's a running joke between me and Garry that I hate this song I have a visceral hatred for The Locomotion as a song.
So why?
I don't know. It's one of those unexplainable things, Ellie. You just don't like something. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
it just makes your whole body go nope.
Well, I mean, in the context of Kylie, it's just she wheels it out every time on the tour. I get why she does it. I get it. I get why she does it.
It's refreshing it. Like the version that was on Golden, which is now being refreshed again, updated again.
She at least has the good sense to remix the bloody thing every time. But it's still the same song. It was a great single, I think, to get her more of an audience because I Should Be So Lucky and Got to Be Starting were very pop. And I think Locomotion is, of course, a pop song, but it's a well-known song. And I think it brought maybe some more of the mums and dads in at the time. So maybe. A clever move in terms of selling albums.
But also, we never would have got I Should Be So Lucky etc., and everything, had it not been for Locomotion. Locomotion came first in Australia when she was in Neighbours, the original version, and then came the UK Stuck Aiken and Wardman version. But like, it was the biggest song of the decade in Australia. Like, before I Should Be So Lucky existed. Like, it was huge.
I know. But then I think came the biggest surprise for me, and my favorite song on the album is Je ne sais pas pourquoi. It's just such a great record. It still to this day sounds really good. It is Stock Aitken and Waterman, but I think the production's slightly different. And it took its time as a song. I felt like it was really able to breathe. And it was the first time I remember thinking, actually, you know what, this girl can sing. It was the first time I thought, she's not terrible, because Elliot, she got the arsehole ripped off her every day in the press for not being able to sing. I never understood that, really. I was always like, I think she's perfectly good voice, but I think she was singing from a different place. But with Je ne sais, I thought, actually, you know what, she has a set of pipes on her. I think she could be great. And
it was a different song to everything else she's released so far. Like, it was a ballad, but it didn't feel like a typical ballad. No. I love the fact that it was so different.
A sad banger, is that what they call them? I felt like it was that a bit, because it's about love lost, isn't it? She's in a cafe. The video is probably very of its time.
Well, I don't think I'll ever forgive that blue cardigan in the video that she wore. Like, I don't think I can ever forgive that.
I think Je ne sais was great, and then just the album, right? There was a lot of great songs on there. The first version, the first song of hers, because people think Love at First Sight, they all know the Kylie anthem, don't they? But there's a song on Kylie called Love at First Sight. It closes the album. Yeah. And I listened to it again the other night. That and Look My Way, which I think is second last. I do remember talking to you about Look My Way a few years ago, because I think what they were trying to do, if you look at the landscape, Madonna was absolutely huge. Who's That Girl had come out the year before. We were waiting on Like a Prayer. She was by far the biggest star in the world. But also, Janet Jackson was another big, big star. She had just come off the back of Control, about to go into Rhythm Nation. I mean, they were on a different league at the time to Kylie, but I felt like Look My Way was a slight nod to the American market. It has a slightly American feel to it. Yeah. And there's a lot of heavy synths, and just the chorus. There's a little bits of Janet I hear in there, little bits. So I didn't understand at the time. I remember thinking, what is this? It's just not a Kylie song. But I know what they were doing now. But
I agree. That was different, but for me in a good way.
And we have to get to Especially for You. To this day, still one of the biggest singles of all time. And I dare anybody to not sing along when they hear it. I dare you not to sing along to Especially for You. It's kind of timeless. And I think would probably rank for me with in musically, maybe not lyrically, but musically, the musicality, as one of the top 5 Saw productions, I think. So on that basis, I'm going to say it's a really great pop record, and one I go back to all the time. And I'd be really proud, I think, if I was Kylie, to say, I made those records in that time, and the people are still listening to them now. So, yeah.
I'm going to have to give you a challenge, though, Alan, because in my brain, there are many Kylie fans out there right now shouting that Especially for You was never on Kylie. So you've thrown it in there because it was on that era. It wasn't on the album. It was on Jay-Z.
Right. Oh, it wasn't.
I could be wrong, but there's something in my head shouting at me that there's many people.
It's serious when I take my glasses off. Right, let's see. Oh my God, you're dead right.
It is of that era. Like, it was that time. So we'll give you a little poke.
Yeah. No, okay, fine. It kind of, I feel it should have been, because it tailed off. It was released at the end of the year. She'd had I Should Be So Lucky was number 1 very early in the year. Got to Be So. She owned 1988, didn't she? She did, in terms of nobody had a higher profile. No other female artist could come close. Sunita was fuming the whole time. Nobody could get close. But it is the era. It is the era, and it kind of encapsulates really what she was at that moment in time.
There is another song that you've not mentioned, and I'm so surprised you've not called it out from the Kylie album.
Okay.
Turn It Into Love.
Do you know what? I have issues, because look at this. Hazel Dean. I remember at the time, because did this come back to, can you believe me sometimes? Did this come back?
Watching this, Alan has a copy of Hazel Dean's Turn It Into Love on vinyl from 1980.
I remember this coming out, and I was fuming, because you're right, Garry. Sorry, I forgot about this. I listened to it the other night, Like, I'm sorry, Hazel. I know you got the single treatment, Kylie didn't, but Kylie's version is so much better. Turn Into Love was a great tune, and that comes on the album, I think, just after Got to Be Certain, Locomotion, Je ne sais. It never actually was officially a single, apart from Japan, I think.
I was just about to say, I think it was Japan. And yeah, no, it was It's No Secret, but you also haven't mentioned, rude, was US had some success at there, I think minor success. Another great song. But yeah, Turn It Into Love. Kylie's version came first, and then Hazel Dean got given it, right? Is that what happened?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, it was Saw, and I think they'd pressed the Kylie album, and then probably knew it wasn't going to be a single, so said, give it to our Hazel here. And in fairness to her, she took it to the top 20. She did have a hit with it.
Another soap star got a Kylie song a few years later of one of the other soul albums. I want to say Sophie Lawrence.
I think it was Sophie Lawrence. Yeah, it was. She was doomed from the start, bless her. But you're right, It's No Secret. We can't not talk about that because that was an American single. So actually, a lot of American Kylie fans, especially the ones who are my age, will probably remember that as like the follow-up to I Should Be So Lucky. And it was like, no, what about all the others? But in America, they went down that road. And I can kind of see why. It's a great pop record. It's No Secret. It's a great record. And in fact, weirdly, it's the B-side to this. I found this the other day. But Garry, look where I bought it from. Can you see? Abbey Discs.
Abbey Discs in Dublin.
Yes. If anybody from Ireland's watching, they'll be like, oh, do you remember Abbey Discs? I mean, a great record shop from Ireland. Randomly, this was the second single off Enjoy Yourself, but they put It's No Secret as the B-side. So, yeah, I mean, clearly fans liked it, and they thought we'd get a few more miles out of this one, even though they were halfway through the campaign for the second album. But there you go.
Stuff he's lost the last 2 weeks. For those not watching, Alan is full of props tonight. Like every song he's talking about, he's got a prop ready to go. Oh look, I did some prep, make me win, Elliot.
I also have a Rubik's Cube, which I finished earlier.
Delighted for you.
But your last, and I just want for you to.
I hate this question. I never remember to look at this.
Your last thing to do. Can you summarize the album with 3 words or phrases?
Oh God. Pure pop fun. I mean, pure pop fun. That's what it is. It's pure. It's unadulterated pop, and it's just incredibly fun. You know, it's one of those albums where you think, oh God, it's very off the time, very 88, but also, yeah, a great album from that time. So God, I hope we've done it justice.
This week, hasn't he, Elliot? He's really up to his game. Pure pop fun. Just rolls up.
It's amazing when he likes the album.
I thought you were going to use the image of the album as part of your 3 words.
Oh, yeah. Second time she's used toilets as a prop on her album covers. First time, that and then Golden. Because it does look like she just put a toilet seat in her head and then pulled her hair through the back of it.
Oh, okay. Yes.
But listen, it was 1988, you know, the stylists were, you know, they did things a bit differently.
I remember the excitement of going to HMV on Grafton Street in Dublin, Alan, another record shop you will remember.
Lived in there.
To get the vinyl. Like, this was 1988. I was 9. Those were the days.
Brilliant. So there you go. That is my appraisal of Kylie Minogue. So I am done. I hope I just did it justice.
And thank you. So I guess we're on to Garry, and you're pitching Kiss Me Once.
Kiss Me Once. There's 3 words I'm going to start, and that is Into the Blue. Absolute bloody banger. We can't start talking about this campaign unless we reference the fact that Into the Blue is, for me, an absolute banger of a Kylie track, and deserves to be bigger than it was, and deserves to still have a place. Actually, Alan, there's the answer to your question. If I can manifest what song she will do in Birmingham on Saturday night for fan request, Into the Blue. Let's manifest that out there. Let's put that out there. I want Into the Blue. Let me talk about the reality of Kiss Me Once album before. Don't let me lose from the start, Alan. I'm going to fight for this album. But there's some stories around this album, let's just say. Okay, but we start off with a banger of a track. If I remember rightly, it got playlisted by Capitol right at the start, which was actually still quite big for Kylie to be getting played by Capitol, because she kind of... This is where things had started to change with her kind of radio core audience. And I remember listening to it on the radio and them like calling it like, Kylie's back, it's a big banger. Like, Jesus Christ, how many times can they call her releasing a new album a comeback? She was always having a comeback. No, she just had a year off. But anyway,
she never really went anywhere.
Never went anywhere. But yet again, she was coming back with, Back to True Kylie, and Kiss Me Once was coming, and Into the Blue. Beautiful song. Really great video, in my view. Not the video I would normally think is right for the song, because in my head, it's such a banger of a song. It should have had a real club vibe video. But actually, it was more about like a lost weekend where she was runching around with a very handsome man. And they did go to like a club at one point. There was a bit of a dance scene, but actually there was a lot of it where she was just like wearing his shirt, and it was all very, very sexy and cute. And I loved it. Really, really liked it. And when they were releasing this, she was just starting on The Voice UK, her first time being a judge on any kind of platform like that. And it all started really, 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 really well for me. I was a happy Kylie fan. She was on mainstream TV. I went to The Voice recording to see her, and I was in the front row. And it was in BBC in Manchester.
It was fun to see her in that element, but I don't. What do you think? I don't think she fully had her heart in that. I don't think that. I was looking at her thinking, I guess she'd rather be anywhere really, but here. I felt that way anyway.
I felt like she at that point she'd left her original manager Terry Blamey. She signed up with Rock Nation to do her management. She was still with Parlophone at the time. I don't have all the stats that Alan has. It went to number 2. I remember that. It got beaten by George Michael. For the time, it was still doing well.
If she did those first week, it went sold this around the same as Disco on them on their first week. It had a big. It just was unlucky, chart position wise. It wasn't another number 1. But it by no means undersold in its first week. It just dropped off very quickly. She didn't gain any traction from being on The Voice. And I remember thinking, what's a girl got to do? It feels like years and years ago. It's actually only 11 years ago. But at the time, I remember thinking, okay, The Voice will keep her in people's minds and should help sell the album long term.
I don't think she was allowed to promote it the same way. By being on The Voice, I think she missed out on doing some other shows that would normally be in the primetime shows that she could do the promotion. And if we're honest, what would have sustained it was a really great second single, one that really, really slapped.
I've been looking forward to getting to this bit.
And it didn't happen. So what got said was I was going to cancel, which on paper should have been massive. She got to work with Pharrell. There is the story behind the song, which she has talked about, where she literally was upset on the day, and she'd said to him at the start of the day, I was going to cancel because whatever was going on. And she was crying, and she said she was going to cancel. And that's where the song came from. It just didn't work.
No. So disjointed, the whole thing was disjointed. Yeah.
Well, it didn't follow
Into the Blue to that as well. The context of this campaign, it's even more of a sore thumb. It's like, girl, what? After Into the Blue, which a lot of people love that, and then and then I don't know, did Sophie Muller direct the video for Into the Blue? Because I know she did. I was going to cancel, didn't she?
And I don't think
in Australia. I think she. I'm not. I think she did.
No, I don't think so. I think she did do Into the Blue. And by the way, I should say, Into the Blue, Elliot, number 13, if I remember rightly. I have as good stats as Alan. I don't need notes, right? Make me win.
12.
Well done.
12.
If I remember rightly, Alan, and again, sometimes these things are just manifested in my head. I remember it. She was in Australia. She was doing I think it was the Arias, which is the Brits of Australia.
Yeah.
And it was an Australian director, I think, male. And he was due to have a couple of days with her to record the video, whatever the plan was. Something happened, and he was only getting a day with her. So what we ended up was this really watered down version of awfulness.
The concept was mad. He was talking about people walking back and forth past her, so it looks like that she's kind of being, she's in this rush hour thing, and then you see it, and you're like, it's just widescreen kind of it's a mess of a video, a mess. It's not prime Kylie, that song, to this day, I'm still really upset about it, as you can tell.
I call her. Yes, I was going to cancel, should be cancelled, okay? It didn't happen. Okay. However, it was the first time I ever got a retweet from Kylie. I tweeted that because there was a remix. I want to say it was the Motto Blanco remix, and actually it kicked.
Good remix, yeah. Well, they didn't make a bad remix. They didn't know how to. They were so good, yeah.
And I tweeted to say worth the $1.99 because we downloaded songs from iTunes back then alone just for this remix, and she fucking retweeted it.
Yeah.
I was living the dream. Kylie retweeted me. So although I want to cancel, I was going to cancel. There was that. One last thing, and I was going to cancel, Elliot. And then we're moving on. There's no more negativity from you, Alan. Right? Back off. You didn't even do the song on the tour. The Kiss Me Once tour did not have.
Wow. The second single, yeah. She very quickly tried to make all of us forget it ever happened. Yeah, I mean, seriously, yeah, that's a bad sign, isn't it? That's when you're just like, okay, we're not going to do this one on the tour that supports the album. It's on. But
the wheels were turning in various different ways. The Rock Nation avenue wasn't really going, I think, where she wanted to go. They were probably what I've read and what I've heard is like it was going in different directions, and just the synergy wasn't working from a management point of view of where things were going. And if we're real, the wheels fell off this album campaign really, really quickly. However, I do feel
I think they started to fall off after the single went to the single.
It's my album.
Sorry. I do think it all went wrong with the single not doing very well. Yeah. Right. Sorry, Garry. Sorry.
I'm going to win this, Alan, I tell you. Right. So I do think the wheels fell off the campaign a little bit. The singles weren't right. However, when you go back and revisit this album, there's actually some, especially the tracks that didn't make it out, there's some really good songs on there. Are they the most cohesive? No. It doesn't really, like, there's campaigns where, like, Disco just all made sense. It's a bit mismatched, but there's some really good songs. I would say If Only is a really, really good song. It's a great song. Wasn't that the Tom Aspel? No, that was Feel So Good.
Feel So Good was the Tom song, which is a highlight on the album.
Agreed.
Very Mr. Aspel for the time. Yeah. Fair play to him. We love him.
The other one that I love, and I'll get to the ballads in a second, but the other one is Le Sex. Like, absolute genius. Bloody great song. It opened the tour.
The tour opener, yeah. On those big red lips.
Great song. And she, if I remember right, she did it on the promo tour. So she did, for the promo for this tour, she did like pub gigs. I think Gaga had done similar, where she'd kind of gone into like dive bars, and Kylie kind of followed suit. She was wearing, it was rubber PVC era, which is back a bit for the Tension tour. But this is when she was proper getting her rubber on, like the gays were fucking loving it. And she did do loads of promo around Europe as part of The Voice, not being a judge, but doing loads of guests performances of I Was Going to Cancel. So there was a promo campaign. But
she was on Alan Carr. She promoted the shit out of it. This is the thing. She was on Alan Carr. We got a major stars on there. But yeah, you had her on talking and performing. And even then I was like, girl, it's too late. It's too late. Alan Carr can't save you.
Should have been Into the Blue. All the big performances should have come in Into the Blue. But I think at the time she was judging on The Voice. So there was a performance of Into the Blue with her finalists, her two finalists. Anyway. Right, so we've talked about there's Feel So Good, there's If Only, there's Le Sex. There's three really good album tracks there. Million Miles, also not a bad album track, was a radio hit in Spain. I think it's a good song. There was another song called Sexy Love, which is basically, Alan's mentioned already, there was two Love at First Sights. There was Love at First Sight Part 1, there was Love at First Sight Part 2.
It's like if you'd written Love at First Sight 15 times and then the 16th.
It was a radio release again in Australia, and she did a performance on The Voice Australia, because she then went to be a coach on Voice Australia. And she did a performance which was to announce the tour, and she did a mashup of Sexy Love into Love at First Sight. And actually, it really worked because they're kind of the same song. And when it moved from Sexy Love into Love at First Sight, it kind of went off. It was really great.
Yeah. There was a lot of highlights on the album. There were just a few lowlights as well, let's be honest.
There is a few lowlights. Another highlight, Fine. Really good song.
I'm not keen on Fine. I prefer the one with Enrique, even though it's inexplicable. But I still think there's a lovely ballad in there. There's a song in there. It's just so covered up with bleeps that you're like, what? You know?
The song is beautiful. It's called Beautiful. I think, again, part of Rock Nation, potentially putting someone like Enrique on the album with there was an idea. From what I remember, it was always going to be a single. There was even like a plan for a video, but for whatever happened, the video didn't happen, and therefore the single didn't happen. They did vocode, is that the word? Their voices.
Yeah. Well, auto-tuned to death, like auto-tuned to the point where it's, it's kind of hard to listen to sometimes.
It is, but she did the version without Enrique, without the vocoder, with just her naturally good vocals on the tour. And it is a beautiful song. Like, it's hauntingly beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Really I like it, yeah. Yeah.
And on the tour, it was done in a ballad section with my all-time favorite song from this album, the title of this album, which was Kiss Me Once. And I left it to last because ultimately for me, it's why this album still deserves its place. And actually Kiss Me Once, in my view, should have been a single. And I chose it as my first dance at my wedding. And I chose the live version. It had to be the live version because in the live version, Steve Anderson, he created like an extended version. Like there was an outro where it was all ethereal on stage. She was barefoot. She was on the T stage and she'd done the song, which I just think is beautiful. Kiss me once and you'll watch me fall. Kiss me twice and I'll give you my all. Like the lyrics, that's why I chose it as my first song, my first dance at my wedding. The lyrics to me really were really, really nice lyrics. But then there's just Steve adds it in where she just she goes all Florence and the Machine and she goes dancing around the stage and it's like, ooh, it just goes like crazy. Yeah. And I just adore it. I just still think, I look back on that tour and there was many, many highlights that tour. The Michael Hutchence track that she did during the show was really great. She had a great
to this day, the best cover of Need You Tonight.
Right.
And my Spotify on repeat will let you know just how much I love that song. Yeah, I mean, I love Need You Tonight by INXS, and I think it was so fitting. I mean, it had been a few years since he passed, so I was not expecting it. I was thinking, would she do an honor in 40? It was 15 years later or something. He'd be dead a long time. But she just starts, I think it starts with and then and she's raised up. Isn't she really high in the black PVC and it has a hat on? I mean, she's just really sexy. It's very breathy. And then in the middle of it, she stops. And to me, that is such a faithful cover, but also with a really great Kylie twist on it. And her vocal is just unreal. That was when I started to really appreciate it. I remember saying, wow, her vocals have come on so much because she's never, ever mimed, has she? People need to know that. People say, oh, she's a mime. She don't think she's ever mimed on any of her tours ever. There might have been a tape in the background in the beginning. I think there might have been a bit of help. And so a lot of backing vocalists. But boy, that night, I remember thinking, God, she can really sing, and she sang the shit out of that.
It is a great song. And I remember, because again, I think things weren't really working out for her where her career was at that point. She wasn't necessarily happy. I remember seeing an interview or reading somewhere where she was kind of saying, doing that, whatever was going on in her head, doing that track every night felt like Michael Hutchence was there with her. And it was her way of kind of maybe feeling a bit more safe and secure because he'd been her comfort blanket when, she was having her image changes back in the day. And I loved that. I loved that she was being really honest about it and talking about it. But I definitely read somewhere that she said, the best part of the campaign for her was the tour. Like in Australia, she had Giorgio Moroder as her opening act because she'd done parts on his album as part of that. And then I can't move on. Elliot, you're probably going to be like, he should have stopped talking 10 minutes ago. But there's one final thing about this.
He has talked for a lot longer than I did. I'm just going to point that out.
I need time to sell Kiss Me Once, Alan. Shut up.
I think someone needs to call time on this. Yeah.
Hang on. Okay. One more.
Let him say his piece.
In that era, she also was starting to do a bit of experimenting. Some of the experimenting made it to the album on the bonus tracks. There was one called Mr. President, which was very much a kind of club vibe track. I'm not really sure what was going on. We'd had a prep track before called Skirt, which I still adore. It came before the album. It was a buzz track. Rock Nation were trying to test the waters. Where is she going to go with these things? And that's why I think some of the original stuff planned for KMO didn't actually happen because for some respect, Skirt hadn't taken off. But actually, I think she should have gone down the Skirt route and should have gone down that route and actually done what Kylie does best, which is be different. That's my point, though. She also started working with Garry. So Garry had been Gaga's producer. He'd done loads of her early stuff. And she did 2 EPs with him over this period, which were completely self-funded. They weren't with the record label. They weren't released. One of them is still not on Spotify
so
today.
Random. They were just random, weren't they? And she had a deal she went with Shaggy.
That was the second EP. So EP1 was called Sleepwalker, and some of the EP1 were played in parts of the show. I think before the show and during one of the interval bits of the show, there was parts played along with Skirt. And the second EP, which came post KMO, was Shaggy, Giorgio Moroder again, and Sam Sparrow was the other guy who she was song with, the Black and Gold.
Yeah.
And actually, I think that song is pretty special. If I Can't Have You, it's a similar vibe to Beautiful, quite haunting. But I think, look, Elliot, to sum up on this, there's a lot of bad vibes around KMO. Yes, I'm up against Kylie number 1 tonight, but actually, put yourself in the place of where we got to in her career. She was post 25 years down the line. She was still getting a number 2 album. She was still signed to a major record label. She was signed to Rock Nation, still produced quality music. Let's forget everything that was around that. Let's forget the negativity. I Was Going to Cancel should never have happened. Everything else is quality music. And that's why I will not sit pretty and say that this is a done deal tonight. I think KMO, justice for KMO, it deserves to have a place on the Timebomb wheel, and I'll fight till the end.
Okay. I admire your gumption. I'm going to call it.
After that,
but I think, Eddie, you must remember too. Just to finish up, you must remember too that this Kylie album is the foundation of her career, and I think for fans, hang on, hold up. I did not interrupt you when you were just when you were summing up. Did I?
We've already discussed the first album.
Just to finish, because I'm sorry. Hang on, sorry, Elliot. Can I just say no? Let me just be that he has just said. Let's just finish up, Elliot, and just before you make a decision, he has been rubbing you up all night long. I would like to say that I feel we cannot overlook the importance of the Kylie album in the sort of legacy of Kylie Minogue. That's all I will say.
Of course.
And I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree, but I also think KMO stands up there, and that's why this is probably so far the most equal battle, and Elliot's got a really hard decision to make.
Okay. Garry, you've got your last thing to do for me. You got to summarize "Kiss Me Once" in 3 words or phrases.
Okay, sex, because it was like 4 songs on the album that had the word sex in it. He was working with Sia, and Sia brought sex to the album. That was kind of part of it.
We must, Elliot. It was Sia executive produced KMO. Don't let that change your decision in any way.
Sex, Rubber, because Rubber was part of the PVC. Rubber was part of the campaign, and for 2 reasons, I'm going to say Voice, because she was on The Voice, but also I do think on some of the tracks on this album, her voice absolutely shines through, and it's quality.
It did reach another level with this album, I will say. The Voice,
Sex over Voice.
Good.
Boom.
Good. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Come on, Elliot.
I'm gonna say this first, that this definitely hasn't been an easy one to do, I feel. Like, you both made very, very good cases. But I feel like... I think that the impact that her debut had is better than Kiss Me Once. So I'm sorry, Garry. I think that Kiss Me Once is going to have to go in the bin.
Yay, can we get a round of applause? Little round of applause. Oh, I appreciate that so much. Thank you very much. Oh, look at you making 0 effort.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Elliot. No, I'm really happy you chose that, because I think it's impossible. It's impossible to really talk about Kylie and talk about her discography without, this album. I think a lot of fans would be angry if we put this in over KMO. Don't you think, Garry?
So this is where I'm going to be nice, and I'm going to, in the same way that you were, I fought to the end, but if I'm being honest, I really wanted Kylie to win, but I love KMO as well. But I had to put my best foot forward.
If you wanted to show somebody, here's what pop was like, just give them a copy of Kylie Minogue. Maybe give them a copy of Bananarama at the same time, because that was also great. But yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it is fair to say that should be the worthy winner tonight. So I appreciate that, Elliot. Thank you very much.
2-1.
2-1.
Yes, it is 2-1.
Just watch me catch up now. Next week we'll even things out.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
But no, I appreciate my win, Elliot. Thank you very much. It's nice to at least start to feel like I'm clawing back some semblance of respectability after 2 losses in a row. So I'm very glad to make it 2-1 to Garry.
Welcome to the podcast, and it's about time you joined in.
I'm finally here, week 3. But also with our new element of the steal, I'm very excited. But I think you did a good job tonight.
Thanks.
You did a really good job. Yeah.
I'll take that. So in the bin, we now have Kiss Me Once, Golden, and Disco, all in the Time Bomb bin. And moving forward to the next round, we have Fever, Aphrodite, and now joining them, Kylie, 1988.
Okay, that's a good little lineup so far.
Yeah.
Building its way up.
Yeah.
Right.
I've loved this, and thank you to everyone who's listening in. We're loving getting some comments and messages from people.
Can we say hi to Romeo? Romeo sent a message on Spotify. He was saying he really enjoyed the podcast and said he couldn't wait for the next episode. So here you are. Here's your next episode.
Hey.
Absolutely. And we're on Instagram. We are Timebomb Kylie Podcast on Instagram. And I can't leave this episode with identifying that one of my heroes in Kylie world, Steve Anderson, commented on one of our episodes. And that made me fangirl a lot.
Honestly, if you're listening, Steve, it's impossible to underestimate the amount of love that our Garry has for you, because he is a huge fan. So you did make his day.
If you'd have seen the message I sent to our WhatsApp group when I found the Steve comment, I was losing my shit. So, Steve, thanks for the love. And to everyone else, let us know your thoughts as well. Tell us what you think about our decisions. I'll give it to Alan tonight. We're 2-1 in the battle. But bring on episode 4, and we're going to go 3-1 up. It's never going to be 2-all.
Fight and talk. We'll see what happens. But thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks, Elliot. Thank you, Garry.
Bye, all.
Thank you. Bye.